The decision came down to one question. Who did she want to be? The person the cameras wanted, or the person Allah created her to be? On a quiet day in 2022, Maureen Elheimer took her Shahada. She testified that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. And in that moment, everything changed. The weight she had been carrying for years lifted. The emptiness filled. The questions about her identity finally had an answer. She wasn't Maureen, the reality TV star. She wasn't Maureen, the influencer. She was Maureen, a servant of Allah. And that was enough. But taking Shahada privately was one thing. Announcing it to 1.5 million followers was another. Maureen knew the storm that was coming. She prepared herself mentally, spiritually. And in November 2022, she posted the photos from Mecca. Her in hijab, smiling genuinely for the first time in years. The caption simple but powerful. I embraced Islam, a choice of soul, heart, and reason. The response was immediate and brutal. Thousands of hate comments flooded in. Former fans called her brainwashed. The French media ran articles questioning her mental health. Some called it a publicity stunt. Others said she was betraying French values. Reality TV forums exploded with speculation and mockery. Her follower count dropped. Brand deals disappeared overnight. Everything she had worked for in the entertainment industry vanished. But something unexpected happened too. Thousands of supportive messages poured in. From Muslims who had been following her journey. From young women struggling with the same emptiness she had felt. From people who saw her courage and felt inspired to make their own changes. Maureen realized something profound. She had more real support as a Muslim woman in hijab than she ever had as a reality TV star in designer clothes. Her twin sister Ocean's reaction was complicated. They had always been close, always competed, always compared. Now Maureen was choosing a path Ocean couldn't follow. The twin who had always been her mirror was becoming someone different. Someone Ocean didn't fully understand. Their relationship strained, but Maureen held firm. This wasn't about Ocean. This wasn't about anyone else. This was between her and Allah. Maureen's life transformed completely. She stopped appearing on reality TV shows, stopped attending the parties and events that used to fill her calendar, stopped posting the provocative content that had built her following. Instead, she started sharing her Islamic journey, videos about learning to pray, struggles with hijab in France, finding halal restaurants, building a new community. The algorithm punished her at first. Her engagement dropped, her reach decreased, but slowly, a new audience found her. Muslim women who saw themselves in her story. Young people questioning their own paths. I went home that night and downloaded an English translation of the Quran. I told myself I was just being thorough, just checking, just proving it was a coincidence. I started reading, and I couldn't stop. The Quran described the water cycle, the expansion of the universe, the development of the human embryo in stages, the formation of mountains as stabilizers, the existence of barriers between seas. These weren't vague poetic metaphors. These were specific, accurate descriptions of natural phenomena that humanity only discovered in the last few centuries. How? I spent weeks researching. I read academic papers. I watched debates. I looked for explanations. Maybe Muhammad copied from Greek texts, but the Greeks got embryology wrong. They thought semen came from the brain. They had no idea about developmental stages. Maybe it was lucky guesses, but the accuracy was too precise, too consistent. I was terrified, because if the Quran was right about science, what else was it right about? I started reading more, not just the scientific verses, everything, and something strange happened. The Quran started reading me. It described my exact state, and they denied them, although their souls were convinced of them, out of injustice and haughtiness. That was me. I was convinced, but I was too proud to admit it. The Quran challenged me. Do they not reflect upon the Quran, or are there locks upon their hearts? I had locks, years of them, built from pride, from arrogance, from fear of being wrong. But the evidence was overwhelming. I decided to meet Muslims, real ones, not the stereotypes from media. I wanted to see if this religion actually worked in real life. I met Ahmed at a coffee shop. He was a software engineer, normal guy. We talked for hours. "Why do you pray 5 times a day?" I asked. "Because I need to," he said simply. "Not because God needs my prayers. Because I need to remember who I am, where I came from, where I'm going." I met Fatima, a lawyer. "Doesn't the hijab oppress you?" I asked, embarrassed but curious. She smiled. "I spent years being judged for my body. Now I'm judged for my mind. That's liberation, not oppression." I met Omar, a former Christian. "What made you convert?" I asked. "I read the Quran," he said, "and I realized I'd been worshiping Jesus when Jesus himself worshipped God. Islam made sense of everything Christianity couldn't explain. These people weren't brainwashed. They were intelligent, thoughtful, happy. But I still had barriers. What would my parents think? My colleagues, my friends? I was a scientist. Scientists don't believe in God. That's the rule, right? Except it's not. Isaac Newton was a believer. So was Max Planck. Albert Einstein spoke of God constantly. The greatest minds in science never saw contradiction between faith and reason. The contradiction was in my pride. One night I was alone in my apartment. I'd been researching Islam for 3 months. I'd read the Quran twice. I'd met dozens of Muslims. I'd watched hundreds of hours of lectures. And I knew it was true. But I was terrified to admit it. I sat on my floor and I did something I hadn't done since I was a child. I prayed. Not to Allah yet. I didn't know how. I just spoke into the silence. "If you're real," I said, "if this is true, then guide me. Show me. Help me." And I felt something break inside me. All the walls, all the pride, all the fear. I cried. For the first time in years, I cried. The next morning I called Ahmed. "I want to become Muslim," I said. He was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Are you sure? This isn't something you do emotionally. This is a decision for life." "I'm sure," I said. "I've never been more sure of anything." We met at the mosque that Friday. I was nervous. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. I became Muslim, and everything changed. Not externally at first. I still went to work, still did my research, still lived in the same apartment. But internally, everything was different. I had purpose. I had peace. I had answers to questions I didn't even know I was asking. Why am I here? To worship Allah and do good. What happens when I die? I return to my Creator. How should I live? With justice, compassion, gratitude, and humility. Simple answers, but profound. My parents were shocked. My mother cried. My father stopped speaking to me for weeks. "We raised you to think critically," he said when he finally called. "I did think critically," I replied. "That's exactly why I'm Muslim." Some colleagues distanced themselves. Others were curious. A few were hostile, but I didn't care anymore, because I'd found something more valuable than approval. I'd found truth. Today, 5 years later, I'm still a scientist. I still work in research. I still publish papers. But now I see my work differently. Every cell I study is a sign of Allah's design. Every natural law is evidence of His wisdom. Every discovery is a reminder of how little we know and how much He knows. Science didn't lead me away from God. Science led me straight to Him. If you're watching this,